The Governor's Island is 172 acres in total. It's small. This is Castle Williams, one of the very first American forts ever made. There's about 5 million square feet of abandoned buildings. This building is as long as the Chrysler Building is tall.
Oh yeah, look, it just keeps going and it's all connected.
Yep. All of this is landfill. When they were building the city's first subway line, they dug up the dirt and then the army was like, we'll take that dirt. They threw it out here, made almost 100 more acres of island out here.
I recently joined local guide Scott to explore the official birthplace of the state of New York, what the Lenape First Peoples called Nut Island because of its large, nutritious trees.
Governor's Island is the very first place that Dutch settlers came. They chopped down all the trees and brought the wood across to Manhattan to build with. The King of England, during colonial days, declared this to be the official residence of the governors of New Jersey and New York. It was more of a power move by the king because he was afraid that their governors were going to actually give this away. After the American Revolution, this became a fort. It was a military base. Army moved out in 1966, and the same year, the Coast Guard moved in. This was the headquarters on the East Coast. They moved out in '96, and this island at that point was abandoned until 2003. One of the last things Bill Clinton did was make this the Governor's Island National Monument, part of the National Park System. So Governor's Island is 2 miles in circumference, 172 acres in total. It's small. It's a small little island. It's actually perfect size for biking. And the beauty of it is this island was all designed for the military vehicles. There's real roads in here, but there are very few cars now.
Hey, you were awesome.
This is Castle Williams. The city here was fortifying their harbor in anticipation of the War of 1812. New York City was occupied by the British for most of the American Revolution, so they didn't want that to happen again. So they built a bunch of forts around here, including the pedestal that the Statue of Liberty sits on today was an old fort. And this is called Castle Williams. It's named for John Williams, who was the very first Army Corps of Engineers chief. This is actually one of the very first American forts ever made. And this was pretty innovative because it's round, as you can see. So the idea that cannonballs would bounce right off of it. They couldn't make a big impact not having a flat surface. Cannons were in each one of these little openings here, so they could roll the cannons around, move them anywhere. You could hit basically anywhere in the New York harbor at that point. Troops would come in here for their orientation and then be sent out to other places during World War I and World War II.
The small airstrip here was where Wilbur Wright completed one of the first overwater flights in history, a 33-minute, 33-second trip up the Hudson River and back.
This was designed by McKim, Mead & White, and it's a hospital. That is a beautiful hospital. Anybody has $100 million to help me out, I'd like to open a hotel there. Wouldn't that make a great hotel?
How many of these buildings do you think are sitting, so that's just sitting
There's about 5 million square feet of abandoned buildings. They're in various phases of being renovated. It's a big investment to make them livable or usable again. When the federal government gave this island to the city of New York, they had a few demands. One of them was no gambling. Another one was no permanent housing. They wanted it to be a public space. That was sort of like the pitch to Congress, that this would be a public space that everybody could enjoy in New York City. And I think I also wanted to forego it becoming either a playground for the rich or a dumping ground for the poor. Roosevelt Island has a pretty ugly history of dumping poor people there. Criminals, insane, smallpox, kind of dumped them all in Roosevelt Island and just let them rot. There's actually a school right here. It's called the Harbor School. This is a magnet school for the New York City Public Schools. Kids actually come out here every single day. This is a regular high school. Focuses on marine technology, marine biology. You can learn scuba. Might want to go into the Navy or the Coast Guard. It's a good place to get started. They're going to be expanding. They had 500 students, and now I think they're going to be able to do 1,300.
Oh, wow, all right.
Here, you can see right here. The school is largely a lot of the labor for the Oyster project. And so kids in this school go around the city and get these oysters from restaurants. They save the oyster shells. They dry them out. We can go by, see a mountain of oyster shells around the other side. After they're completely dried and completely sterilized of any pathogens or any biological matter, then they spit them with what's called oyster spat, baby oysters. and then they put them in these, and then they're throwing them in the harbor.
To help clean the water. And
Yes, exactly. It's based on something actually closer to you, Chesapeake Bay. They did the same thing.
Yep.
Each oyster will clean about 30 gallons of water a day. I did see a YouTube video where they put a bunch of oysters in this dirty water, and you could see like a time lapse of the water getting clear. They also create a biosphere for other plants and little animals to live in the reef. And they also slow down wave action in the event of like big storms like we had Hurricane Sandy. They can slow the waves down because they don't move quite so quickly across the reef as they would a smooth sand bottom. There's no plans to eat them. That's why I love this as a hotel. Look at these great big windows.
oh yeah, that's the dining room right there. I like it.
No permanent housing. That doesn't forego hotels or university dorm housing. So you could have temporary housing, just not permanent housing. Nobody can buy something. You can't move in and live here. The vision for this island when they returned it to the city is that it would be home to arts, cultures, education, environmental groups. You can apply for a grant to get a space here so you can work here as an artist.
Man, this is definitely a secret. I mean, you
It
know,
is.
relatively.
No, it is, and actually most of the people who come here are from the city. I used to do tours out here. I used to actually volunteer with the trust, and I did notice at one point it seemed to have gotten onto the international tourism books because we started getting more and more international tourists. Yeah, it's kind of a fun little secret for New Yorkers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have guests who come in here, but a lot of people are here to see the city.
Right.
This is like, I think, a place that New Yorkers love to go to escape the city. Yeah, my vision of this building over here with the big, with that big, wouldn't that make a great bed and breakfast? Oh God. Yeah, just
Yeah,
sitting
get
on
up in the morning, get your
have your coffee on that
juice
on that
delivered to you on the veranda.
on the veranda. Yeah. This is Colonel's Row here. So about the turn of the 20th century, they decided to give more of an incentive for officers to apply to live in Governor's Island. So they built these very beautiful homes. By the turn of the 20th century, American men wanted to go into business. They didn't want to go into the military in a way that the previous generations did. And so at that time, for a period, Governor's Island became sort of the prestige place to be. And part of that is not only did you have this beautiful house, but you had a view of the harbor because this was not here. And in fact, none of the island was here. This was the water. I didn't even intend this, but there is a map of what the original island is. We're about right here. Yep. And so this is what is the original natural island, which is what the Native Americans used and what the Dutch settlers found. All of this is landfill. And that was created at the turn of the 20th century when they were building the city's first subway line. They dug up the dirt, and then the army was like, we'll take that dirt. And so they threw it out here.
More land for us, for sure.
Made almost 100 more acres out here. This is Liggett's Hall. This building is as long as the Chrysler building is tall.
Oh yeah, look, it just keeps going, and it's all connected.
Yep. It was built to house an entire battalion. In fact, they sort of had to do that because they had some old wooden and rickety, horrible sheds and stuff out on the lower end of the island, and they burned down. So Congress had to pass an emergency funding bill. So they built this, and this is at the time, very state-of-the-art. Enough for 1,600 troops. Also, rec rooms up there, underneath that roof right there on the top floor. You see how there's 3 floors for most of it, and then there's a 4th floor. That's all a big gymnasium up there. It's amazing.
Is it being used at all right now?
Nothing. No,
oh my
nobody's using it. No, it's in bad shape though. I have been in a few of these. They did have an art exhibit in part of this. So, but for now, yeah, it just needs some serious work.
Maybe we could pull some strings and come back and go inside or something.
I could see what I can do.
We'll see.
Or we can sneak. We can sneak in. I snuck into most of the,
I was wondering how you got it.
This building actually housed the very first class of female officers in the Second World War. The South Battery, this was initially a fort, later became a music school and an officers club and a mess hall. Built when this was the southern tip of the island. This is a St. Cornelius Church. This is part of the Trinity Church. It's beautiful inside and it's in good shape. They don't have services or anything, but
yeah.
They could if there was anybody here.
Yeah.
That's the yard.
That looks serious.
Yeah.
That's got some Peter Pan energy going on.
Exactly. That is called the yard, and it is a a playground for children, and it's kind of like a big junkyard. Like, I mean, I think I absolutely would have loved the heck out of that place. It gets bigger every year, actually. It's very, wow, yeah, it's very fun.
So cool.
It's bigger than I've seen it. See, the parents have to stay over here, no parents allowed.
Wow, that's awesome.
These are kind of new, these fancy little printed
The banners.
banners. I haven't seen those in previous
it's
years, so
great.
they're stepping up their game. I worked through a pandemic when there were no tours. I worked at Blazing Saddles. That's how I know all those people so well. And I used to come over here and have lunch whenever I would get my lunch, because I would just sit in one of these Adirondack chairs, and I just love being surrounded by these huge, beautiful old trees, the shady little
Quiet.
pastoral.
You don't have honking horns. And the breeze is nice off the water.
Yeah, it's kind of cold out here. It's maybe 5 or 10 degrees colder than it is in the city.
I can feel that.
Because you're in the middle of the harbor.
Is this the general's house?
Yeah, actually admirals, commanding officers' quarters they call it. It's because the last commander of this space was Coast Guard, so he was an admiral.
Right.
This is Fort Jay, named for John Jay, one of the founding fathers.
Just random cannonballs sitting around. You would have had to really want it to attack this place.
Yeah. So we, no water, although one artist collective did do sharks in here once.
This might have filled up during Hurricane Sandy.
Yeah. Shipping containers, great big metal shipping containers had been washed up in the middle of the island here.
So yeah, it was underwater.
Part of the renovation of this space that was done by a group called West 8, a Dutch group, was all about improving the water resiliency of this space. And that included raising up the elevation about 8 feet overall of the island.
Of the whole island.
Yeah.
So is most of the container traffic and all that down in Jersey?
Most of that has moved to Jersey, Port Elizabeth. You do see some, there is some here, but most of it has moved over there. So the kids who lived on the island, whose parents were officers, would come here for this public school. There were more kids in the era of the Coast Guard from 1966 to 1996, because everyone in the Coast Guard could bring their family, whereas in the Army, if you were stationed here, you had to be an officer to bring your family. They call it the Western Development Space, and they have actually inked a deal with Stonybrook University on Long Island to create a campus for the study of climate change. I guess they have a built-in incentive, because if they don't cure climate change, this island is going to be underwater. This is the hills. They built 4 hills here. This was very flat before. A lot of it is debris from the buildings that they knocked down here. On your right is an artist who has an orchard of 100 different types of fruit plants, all grafted together.
Oh yeah, I see that.
There's ball fields here. This is called collective retreats. It's glamping. They have working sheep here.
Natural lawnmowers.
Exactly, because they have an issue with invasive species.